Welcome to the Marin Local Agency Formation Commission meeting. This is a regular meeting. It is April 10th, 2025, and it is 6:33 p.m. And we are at the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Meeting Room, Suite 335, and we also have Zoom options. Did you want to mention something, Executive Officer Freed?
Yeah, just when you get to the agenda, I wanted to rearrange a couple of items
Okay, where do we have Lou sitting?
at the corner.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, can we have roll call by the clerk, please?
Yeah, actually, the clerk is home sick today, so Jaren will be filling in those roles today.
Okay, thank you, Jaren.
Chair Kohler,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Rodoni.
Here.
Commissioner Caius,
Here.
Commissioner Lucan, Commissioner Murray,
Here.
Commissioner Bordeaux,
Here.
Commissioner Chu,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Hilliard, Alternate Commissioner Farrak,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Moulton Peters, Alternate Commissioner Smith. We have quorum.
Thank you, Jaren. Okay. This time I'd like to do an agenda review. I believe Executive Officer Freed wanted us to
Yes.
change the agenda around.
Yes, since we have members of the public here for 3 of our applications, they all should be very quick application in front of us. I was hoping we could do those before you go into closed session, just so that they can go home and don't have to sit around and wait for the closed session to end.
And that is
Items
those
4, 5, and 6.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to make that change? We'll do that after open time.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, moving on. So now we're going to go into, I'm sorry, I've got to move this. Got a mess here. Okay, public open time. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission on any matter not on the current agenda. All statements that require a response will be referred to staff for reply in writing or will be placed on the commission's agenda for consideration at a later meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. So is there anyone in the gallery for open time? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom?
No.
Okay, closing public open time. So before we go into closed session, we're going to go on to item 4,
Yes.
which is approval of resolution 25-12, annexation of 018-152-12 State of California firing range into Ross Valley Sanitary District, LAFCO file 1388, with waiver of notice, hearing, and protest proceedings, and as responsible agency considered the EIR prepared by the California Department of General Services as lead agency. Would you like to do the staff report,
Yes.
Executive Officer
Yeah.
Freed?
Thank you very much. So item number 4 is an annexation into Ross Valley of an area that we refer to as the California firing range. The state of California is looking to build a bunch of housing on this parcel. And so in order to do that, it's not currently connected to any sewer systems, Ross Valley being the closest and most convenient one with boundaries and lines and everything makes sense to annex into Ross Valley. So this application is here to do that. I do believe we have a representative for them. We have a few of them. They can take the seats up front here. And that is the basics of the report. I think most of you probably know of this project because it's been in the papers quite a bit. And so I'll yield to that just to keep things moving quickly. If you have any questions, let me know or let the applicants know.
Okay, are there any questions of staff or the applicants? Okay, Commissioner Murray?
Thanks, Jason. So, a few questions. So it's 54 acres. This area I grew up in, and there's always traditionally kind of open space, hillside area. So, that's one of our goals in LAFCO with the LAFCO hat on, is to protect open space. Just wanted to see what our position is on that.
place that they're taking over is an area that was been used for a firing range, so I'm not sure that was really used as open space prior to the construction of this. I know that there is some open space around it, but the place where this is being built is not going to change any open space as far as we can tell. It's all firing range where people weren't able to use it before.
Yeah, the footprint, I think, is pretty low on the Shoreline Road. The 54 acres, though, is much larger, obviously, than the entire.
Yeah,
firing
when
range.
you do an annexation, you don't annex it part of a parcel, you want to annex the entire parcel. So in order to serve the part where this is being served, originally they sent us maps that were just for the parcel where they're going to serve, but you have to annex the entire parcel, not just a portion of it.
Okay, and you're good with us approving
Yes.
this as open space or not open space?
Yeah, we don't view this as removing any open space because where the development is occurring is not on that steep portions of the hills over there.
Okay, the owner of the land is a Representative Carrie Zadell of, looks like an NGO in care of the state of California.
Yeah, it's the
Is
state
there-
of California is the owner.
But the applicant is not state of California's NGO, is that correct?
I'll yield to.
May I just ask the folks that are here for the applicant, could you just introduce yourself and turn on the mic, please?
Yes, I'm Steve Moore, General Manager of the Ross Valley Sanitary District.
My name is Felicia Newhouse. I'm also with Ross Valley Sanitary District.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Dorfman with Education Housing Partners, and we're the sponsor of the project.
Thank you.
Chair
Commissioner
Kohler, it might be helpful if Mr. Dorman just gives a general overview of the project, because I think it's important to understand what kind of project it is. And
Sure.
I would mention it is in the Marin County housing element, one of the sites.
Thank you. Mr. Dorfman, would you mind?
Sure. So the project was, I'm going to start with the history really quickly. In 2019, the governor gave the direction to staff to identify sites that would be appropriate for developing affordable housing throughout the state. One of the sites that was initially identified was this parcel that we're working on right now, which is part of the former firing range, which is part of the San Quentin complex. We, in tangent with Eden Housing, prepared a proposal for 250 units of housing. Eden will be building 115 units of affordable family-oriented housing oriented towards families or targeted to families making 30 to 60% of median income. We've created, in working with the county and the Marin County Office of Education, a JPA, that will be building 135 units of workforce housing targeted to incomes between 50 and 120% of AMI. So the project in and of itself, all 250 acres actually are on roughly 8 acres of the total parcel. But again, the total parcel is being annexed into the Ross Valley Sanitary District.
Thank you. And Commissioner Murray, did you have another question?
Yeah, so environmental review is done by the state. I imagine they did have protest proceedings, notices, hearings.
Yeah, they did everything they're required to do for a large project like
And,
this.
and we're adopting that same EIR.
Correct.
Okay. And then Ross Valley is here, so I appreciate Steve Moore and Felicia Newhouse. They haven't introduced themselves yet, but
Yes, they
Pre-
did.
oh, okay. And again, a second meeting, so appreciate you being here. With the 250 units, have you done kind of preliminary capacity? You're good with that?
Yes, thank you, Member Murray. It's good to see you. Good to see all the members of the LAFCo board today. Yes, we had a chance to work with the applicant and determine that there is definitely adequate capacity in our system downstream of that parcel to accommodate any of the developments that are proposed.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Does any other commissioners have any questions of the applicant or staff? Seeing none, is there anyone in the gallery that have questions or comments? And anybody on Zoom?
No one's on Zoom.
Okay, bringing it back, Steve?
Yes, thank you, Chair Kohler. I we came to voice support for the action, obviously, and really appreciate LAFCO's staff and their excellent assistance in this and other projects that we've been working on. As you saw us in February, and we worked on the boundary correction with Sanitary District Number 2. And I'm pleased to let you know your map has been updated. And if you go on the website, all those boundary corrections have been enacted. And it's, I have to say, gratifying. It's nice to see the map change for the better to be more accurate and represent, what's actually happening in the world out there as far as connections of the sewer system. So it doesn't end here. This area that's the state property is actually, contiguous with more state property, as well as the San Quentin Village Sewer Maintenance District that's operated by the county. And in 2 successive MSRs, LAFCO's recommended that we annex that village system, and because it's the county's last bastion of sewer service. So I wanted to show up in person today just to voice our support of that action. But to emphasize what we're currently cooperatively working with Executive Director Freed to combine this action today with extending the annexation all the way along the entire peninsula area, because the sewer system there is all interconnected. So the county system is not independent of the systems that surround it. So we recommend that we continue to work on annexations, really just one package together this year. And we've had a couple of productive meetings with the county, and we've also met with the prison. And so we're in the process of moving that forward this year, and just here to express our support of that action to perfect the boundary around this area that currently there's a service area gap. And so we look forward to completing that great work. And then finally, you've asked us about the boundary on San Rafael Sanitation District, and we're eager to work on that as well, just like we did with the SD2 boundary correction. So
Okay.
we enjoy doing the work. We think it's good public service, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we appreciate you coming to support and look forward to this project. I'm bringing it back to the commission. And would somebody like to make a motion to move forward with this project? If you could, am I supposed to do it?
I'll make a motion to approve and move forward with the project.
Okay, Mala, is that satisfactory? Do we need the actual name of the resolution, et cetera?
No, I think what I'm hearing is that staff recommendation number 1 is what you're recommending.
Yes.
Excellent. Would somebody like to second?
Second.
Are you on the mic?
Yep.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Congratulations. Congratulations to the county as well for, this is going to be a wonderful project. We look forward to seeing it in a couple of years. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, we're moving on. And we are moving to the approval of resolution, this is number 5, detaching approximately 9,146 acres of land located in West Marin from the North Marin Water District LAFCO file 1389 with waiver of protest proceedings and finding it not a project under CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines section 15378. And Executive Officer Freed, were you going to do the staff report?
Yes, I will do the staff report for this. So this is another one of those projects that's been a long time coming. For multiple MSRs now, there have been recommendations that we need to remove areas out in West Marin from the North Marin Water District's boundaries that they do not serve. Some of these boundaries were created because the thought was at some point they would serve them, but they have never gotten around to serving them. In some cases, in one of the cases, they did a economic analysis and realized it was just going to be way too expensive to try and service the area. So they decided not to abandon that project. And they've restudied it a few times over the years and has never come back being anywhere close to being economically possible to do. So what we're doing today is really correcting their boundaries. This is kind of similar to what we did at the last meeting with the applications for SD2 in Ross Valley, where we're getting people in the correct place. Well, in this place, there is no correct place for them. They're not being serviced by them. We did send out mailers to everybody. And as of 6:48, we have yet to receive a single written protest in opposition. We did receive one phone call, and that was more someone getting clarification, making sure that who lives in the Inverness PUD area, which provides water to these folks. And so we're removing all of Inverness PUD, which shouldn't have two different water providers. You should only have one public water provider. And so we're taking North Marin away, and they were just verifying that they were not losing their water rights. And we told them, no, you're going to continue to get water. And they were satisfied with that. So thanks to the help of both Inverness PUD, North Marin Water, Supervisor Rodoni in his office, we did a lot of outreach and a lot of communication with folks out there. So that's why today you're seeing something that we saw with Southern Marin Mill Valley, people saying, yeah, no, we're fine with it. We're not going to even show up to your meeting to say anything about it because they're so supportive. We do have representatives from North Marin Water here. If you do have any questions on it, I will have, once we're done with the public hearing, I will have one small amendment that I will present on the screen for the resolution itself to amend the resolution, but we'll get to that once we get past the public hearing portion.
Oh, sorry. Would you folks introduce yourselves, please?
Yes, good evening to the commission and to the LAFCo staff. I'm Tony Williams. I'm the general manager of the North Marin Water District. Sitting to my left is Eric Miller, the assistant general manager, chief engineer, who worked closely with LAFCO staff to get this application in. And I'd also like to, if I may, just acknowledge Jason and Jaron and Claire for all their assistance to get to this point. So thank you.
Great, thank you for coming. Are there any questions of staff or the applicants from the commission? Commissioner Murray?
Just no property tax considerations or sharing.
None of these people have ever been served by the district, so there's no property tax to exchange.
Okay. And then I think you're going to get to this, Jason, but the resolution, Marshall has two L's rather than one.
Yes, we can correct that typo. Thank
Yeah.
you for noticing.
Minor correction. Thanks.
So I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this matter? Seeing none, is there anyone on Zoom?
There are no one on Zoom.
Okay, so closing the public hearing, bring it back to the commission would,
Jason want to make his.
oh yeah,
proposal?
thank you.
So coming up on your screen in just a second here, I'm gonna, sorry, shared the wrong screen there. Let me get the correct one. Should be this one here. Share. And there we go. So in the resolution, the resolution has us taking lead. We realized at the last minute here that the district had already done the CEQA review for this application. So what we're suggesting is that we change Section 5 of Resolution 2513 to read, as the responsible agency under CEQA for proposed detachment from Northern Marin Water District, LAFCo finds the Northern Marin Water District as the lead agency has prepared and certified a notice of exemption for this project under CEQA guidelines 15320. Like I said, you don't have to do this change. We can do our own CEQA review, but it seems to be more efficient to let it all go under the one that's already been done by North Marin Water. So we're suggesting take the resolution and amend Section 5 to read as I stated here.
Okay, thank you very much. If somebody would like to make a motion, just be clear that with the amendment.
I'll move it with the amendment and the Marshall correction.
Okay, would somebody like to second?
I'll second it, and just so I can make a quick comment, I want to thank North Marin Water and the LAFCO staff for bringing this forward. This has been around as long as I've been on LAFCO, which puts it over 20 years, been kicked around, so.
Beginning of time?
I know, well, yeah. So I want to thank everyone for bringing this to a conclusion. It's really a reasonable, rational conclusion that the cleanup really is important to the district because from my understanding, they don't even have the water to serve this area. And so it would be very challenging for them to actually get an application if it's in their sphere. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it. Okay. Moving on to item 6, which is approval of resolution 25-14, annexation of 267 Seaview Drive, San Rafael into San Rafael Sanitation District. LAFCo file 1390 with waiver of notice, hearing, and protest proceedings, and finding exempt from CEQA pursuant to state CEQA guidelines, section 15319. Okay, would you like to do the staff report, Executive Officer Free?
Sure. Thank you very much. So this is what I call our bread and butter type application. It's a single property looking to, that's currently not on a sewer system, that's looking to connect to its local sewer system. The sewer system has plenty of capacity, can handle this one individual parcel's annexation. So it is staff's recommendation that we annex this single parcel into the San Rafael Sanitary District. And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay, and would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, great, thank you. Any commissioners have questions? Oh, Commissioner Murray. You have a question?
I do have a question. Actually, a couple comments. So Tyler, I used to spend a lot of time at 249 Seaview, my family property there growing up here in Marin. So beautiful location. Happy to see you come in on this and hopefully soon be part of City of San Rafael. It's Avenue, correct? Okay, so, okay, so it looks like, the resolution is reading Drive and Avenue, and that might be something we want to make sure we confirm and get correct in the resolution. Your survey from Kurtz and Associates references Avenue, so I'm fine with Avenue. If you do a map search on it, it says Avenue. So what I recommend is change our resolution inside the rail here in LAFCO to just all read Avenue rather than Drive, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I will note both Drive and Avenue will get you to the same place depending on any system that you're using. So that I've found in the last 9 months or so.
Okay, yeah, it just looks like your surveyor, it would
Yeah, just to be
link
consistent,
up with
makes
that
sense.
and
Yeah.
some of the mapping programs. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Murray. Anybody else have questions of the applicant or of staff? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone outside the room that wants to speak? Seeing none, anybody on Zoom?
No one's on Zoom.
Okay, bringing it back. Anyone who would like to make a motion, if you make sure to make note of the change that Commissioner Murray noted. So we would have to change that on the resolution everywhere it says Drive. Would somebody like to?
Yeah, I'll move to approve resolution 2514, staff recommendation number 1, with the modifications for the address where it says Drive and change to Avenue.
I'll second.
All right, so that was Commissioner Chu. I forgot to say close the public hearing. And Commissioner Murray's second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you for attending tonight.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and welcome to San Rafael. Okay,
Closed session.
well, first I have to
Yeah.
take comment, any public comment on closed session. Is there any, there's no one in the room.
And there's no one on Zoom.
Okay, so we're closing public comment. So we're going to convene to close session, ask a few folks to leave. Everybody turn your mics off. And
And Claire, can you take the meeting room, put that into the waiting room on Zoom so there's no possible chance of anyone listening in? Thank you.
Yep.
okay. All right, thank you. We're reconvening after closed session. There's nothing to report out. And we are moving on to the consent calendar. All items calendared as consent are considered ministerial or non-substantive and subject to a single motion approval. The chair will also consider requests from the commission to pull an item for discussion. Do any members of the commission want to pull anything off consent? Commissioner Murray?
Just a quick correction on the minutes. I don't know if you want to pull it or not.
We don't need to pull it for that. We could just make a correction.
Okay, so at page 10, top of the page, there's some question marks in the word writer, W-R-I-T.
Yeah,
E-R.
you gave those already. We will fix those. Typographical errors, if you give us ahead of time, we can just fix without having to worry about it here.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Good, thanks.
I'll move passage of the consent
Well,
agenda.
I might have to ask if there's anybody on Zoom for public comment.
No, there's no one on Zoom.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I'll move passage of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Okay, we're moving on to,
7, I think.
we're moving on to item 7, the proposed operating draft budget for fiscal year 2025-26.
I will always yield to the budget chair if they wish to make comments first.
Thank you, Jason. The budget subcommittee met, talked about the budget, the draft budget with Jason, and approved it to be released with the understanding that a few of the final numbers will change before we see the final budget.
Correct. Yeah. So just for those that are new to LAFCO, what we do in this budget is always give the highest possible amount that might be needed because we would rather tell people a higher amount and be able to lower it later than give them the wrong amount and have to raise it later. So we always start with the highest amount and work our way down. And like last year, we went down by, I think, 1.5%. I'm imagining we'll at least probably be able to do the same again this year for agency contributions, which will be a good thing. There are a couple things that are making this budget a little bit higher increase than inflation. We did have a talk about it during this current fiscal year about adjusting the deputy executive officer's pay. We realized that pay was lower than all the other Bay areas that have a deputy executive officer. So we're going to be making an adjustment to that. In addition, I've been very good at negotiating contracts. The problem is it's coming back to bite us a little bit now because we had contracts that came up this year that are being renewed for next year, like our audit, which, where it's going to raise by $3,000 with the new contract. So things like that have had to transpire. So it's a little bit higher than normal, but I think that by the time we're all said and done, we'll be in a good spot with our member agency contribution rates being at a reasonable rate for an increase to get us readjusted to what I'm calling the post-pandemic contracts that we now have, because all of our contracts were pre-pandemic and so didn't have the high inflation rates that you saw during those inflationary years now sneaking up to us now. So with that, you have in front of you that there's one other item for consideration with this budget, and that is what is a COLA, since we do not have any union contracts. We are all unrepresented employees. The commission has to decide, each year if they want to give a COLA increase. The budget committee recommended a 3% increase. And so that would be the recommendation today is give staff a 3% increase, plus if any of them deserve merit, they will also get a merit increase with that. So that is what is presented to you today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of staff? Commissioner Murray?
Jason, could you talk about the MSARA decrease in employer contribution?
Yeah, so MSARA, because we were a 3-person operation, MSARA takes how many employees we have on July 1st of any given year, and that's what our rate is for the following year type of a thing. The last time we had MSARA was just prior to, July 1st was just prior to us bringing Claire on board. Because we're 3 people, they factor in, well, what are the age, how close are you to retirement, all those things. Well, Claire being a, brand new employee to the world brought our average dramatically down. So because of that, you saw our MSARA rate dramatically fall. If the day comes with that Claire leaves and we replace, there's always that, we always have a much more fluctuation. Unlike the county, who's a very large employer, 1 or 2 people leave, 1 or 2 people replace, it doesn't change their numbers very much. But for us, when 1 person leaves, that's a third of your staff. That dramatically impacts the MSARA rates.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but just a suggestion for, possibly later this year, 6 months in. But, with the anticipation of higher inflation as well as the lag you have in your annual required contributions for, pensions, we might want to informally or in some way look at a 2-year budget because whatever hits this year in terms of the deficiencies in market returns will likely show up about 16 months after the end of the fiscal year.
Hmm.
So there's a lag in terms of when that will hit us.
Okay, well, that's a good suggestion. Is that something, Mala, did you want to speak to that?
Sorry. Under the acts, unlike for your cities and special districts, there's a process for approving the budget since it goes through so many agencies that has to be done annually. So I'm concerned about our ability to do a 2-year budget as opposed to the annual budget.
Yeah, that's why I'm suggesting informally, because, you just kind of look at, yeah.
Okay.
So that's something that we could consider doing. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Good suggestion. Commissioner Berto.
Yeah, no question. Just comment, appreciation and gratitude for Dennis and the Budget Committee and Jason for bringing this to you. I was part of that crew last year and was apparently ceremoniously booted, and so I missed the opportunity to work with such a great group. But I feel really confident about the recommendations coming out of the committee, and ready to sign off on approval of the budget.
Okay, you were not unceremoniously booted. These things rotate, but thank you.
Touchy subject in some of these days.
Oh, I realize that. I sat through a couple of those meetings. Okay, so you made a motion to approve the proposed budget?
I did not, but I am happy to. I
Wait a
would.
minute, I should see if there's any public comment.
There is no members of the public present.
Okay, thank you.
Then I would move adoption of the fiscal year 25-26 budget.
It's actually a proposed budget because
Proposed budget.
next time we actually do the final.
And then approval of a 3% COLA with that.
Per our discussion with the 3% COLA.
Yes. Okay, and did someone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so that was Commissioner Berto, second too. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, that matter passes unanimously. Okay, we're moving on to item 8, which I guess we're back. Let's hear more about the update on changes with Cal LAFCo and discussion and possible action on whether to remain a member of Cal LAFCo.
So since the last meeting, the Cal LAFCo has had both a board retreat, which unfortunately I could not attend, but Jaron was able to go to. It was not well attended by other LAFCOs, unfortunately. I believe there were 3 what I consider non-board LAFCos present in the room, and we were one of those 3. But it was a very good discussion that they had. And in a second, I will hand it over to Jaron to talk about that part. And then following that, the board had a regular board meeting last Friday. So that could not make it into your staff report. What transpired there is they approved several actions of how to move things forward. One of the big things that they are doing is they hired Pamela Miller. For those that have been around long enough, you might recall she's the former executive director for Cal LAFCo. Did a very excellent job. They're very, very well respected. She runs a consulting firm that helps organizations like nonprofits and government agencies do assessments of themselves and figure out how to improve what they're doing. So that's probably going to take her 3 to 6 months to complete that full report and come back to Cal LAFCo with what her recommendations are. She's going to start a listening tour. They're doing it by region. We have not yet been told when our region is going to meet, but it will be open to both staff and commissioners. So when that does transpire, I will let you all know, and hopefully we'll be able to get 1 or 2 of you at least to attend that. Let's make sure we don't get a majority, because then we have a quorum issue to deal with. But we're happy to figure out how to make sure a few of you at least participate in that listening session so they can hear what our thoughts are about how to reform Cal LAFCo. On that list is a discussion about the regional organization, how the organization functions in the 4 regions, and how to potentially rework that. So that is something that I'm looking very much forward to. I would say at this point, as I say in the staff report, it would be staff's recommendation to continue to remain with Cal LAFCo for another year. Because in my opinion, if we're dues paying members, we're in the room when they're having the discussions on how to reform. If in a year they haven't done anything, we should probably be having a completely different discussion. But I have every bit of faith and that the efforts that Pamela's putting together will produce something that is positive, and then it'll be up to Cal LAFCo to figure out how to actually implement all those recommendations, and that'll be when the real work really gets started with this. Jaron, anything you want to add?
I think just that the retreat, the first day was a marathon of the airing of grievances from a lot of the regional officers who are staff members from around the state. There was a lot of very open and honest discussion, which was appreciated. Nobody really held back on the how did we arrive here part. And I think just the receptiveness of the board members who were present, I will say that was one of the grievances of the regional officers and the staff members that were present was only half of the board showed up. The board members who were present showed a great intention to want to work and to acknowledge that they had fallen short to that point. So it was nice to have that honesty there in the room throughout that day.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Is there any public comment on this item?
No members of the public are present.
Okay, so bringing it back to the commission, I think staff's recommendation is we continue to stay in 1 year, see how it goes. And I don't know if you all were able to read the packet, but they sent a letter responding to concerns that we had. Wasn't clear to me that they were willing to reevaluate the coastal region's contribution, which is pretty damn huge. But and then they also sent a letter to me as chair. It seems like it's worth it to try it for another year since it does provide some additional help, and we are a small LAFCO, and with Jaron's involvement on the Ledge Committee, that can really save us from having to figure out something now. But what do you all think? Those are just my 2 cents. Seems like it's worth it just to try. Were you going to say something, Commissioner Berto? I saw the hand moving.
I was just agreeing.
Okay, so do we need a vote on this matter?
No, the only if you wanted to leave, I would want you to vote on it. But if we're looking to stay, I don't think anything needs to be done tonight.
Okay. All right. And I would ask you that in your executive officer's report or on the Cal LAFCo that you give us feedback, either you or Jaron, as how it's proceeding. And I would ask you to really push on that coastal region allocation because there's something like 59%. It's ridiculous.
It's 40%, but yes, it's ridiculous that we're paying as much as we do for as a region.
Yeah. 45. I got it right next to me.
Well, especially considering when the board's saying that, admitting that they've fallen short of their
Except for
duty.
they didn't address that one issue,
Yeah,
which
just so you're good, the board's intention is let Pamela Miller do her report, and then coming out of that report is when they're going to start looking at what changes need to be done. I have every faith and confidence that there's enough of us who have complained about the regions that in her report will be there needs to be a redo of our region. So I'm confident that that's going to come out of Pamela Miller's report, and that's what will lead to it. They just don't want to get ahead of her report, and that's why they're not moving as quickly as I personally would like, but I also understand why they're not moving as quickly as I would like on that, because they want to get Pamela's report, let her listen to all the regions and see what ideas come out of it. So that's why it's going to be important when they do our regional meeting for Marin LAFCo to be present and present our thoughts on what should be done about the regions. And I have some very good thoughts of how to fix the issues in a long-term way that's positive for Cal LAFCO and all its member agencies.
remind us when the regional meeting is.
They have not decided yet. That's still the meeting was last Friday, and they're still working on when to do each of the regions. So that should be coming up in the next few weeks. I would imagine they're going to let us know when the dates are.
Okay, and let us know as soon as
Yes.
possible.
As soon as
Okay.
I get the note, I will forward it to you, unless I'm
Okay.
on vacation, in which case Jaron will forward it to you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. Item 9, approval of resolution 25-15, update to Marin LAFCO salary schedule.
Yes. So with the update of the DEO salary, his salary will go above what our current salary schedule will allow. So what I'm asking you to do is update that salary schedule. The practice that we have used in the past is, since we have all unrepresented employees, we never really, most of you have been on in a government agency, which is, I think, all of you. When you approve your union contracts, what you're doing in essence is approving a salary schedule for the next 3 to 5 years, however long that salary thing is. What was recommended to me when we first created it a few years ago, when an audit actually said, hey, you don't have a salary schedule, you should have one, so we created one for them, was that we should also do something that's a 3 to 5 years, so we're not having to come back every year. So that's the practice that I'm giving you today is, since we're updating it for the DEO, I updated it for the other positions, and let's do something that gives us 3 to 5 years before we have to come back and do it again. And so that's what's presented to you today in the resolution.
I have a question, but do other folks have questions? Commissioner Chu?
Yeah, I just noticed this now. Why is there an inversion between the code 1 and code 2 high range?
Okay, so there are 5 job classifications. We don't actually have somebody in each of the classifications. It's a way to try and have a promotion schedule. The code 1, if I remember correctly, and give me a second to get to it. Oh, you have it there. Thank you. Yeah, so clerk, junior analyst. So we could potentially at some point hire a very veteran clerk, and they are a little more expensive than what your basic analyst position would be. And that's why you see a slight difference there. It's to allow us the ability, if we have someone who's in a clerk, junior analyst, they might really be a seasoned clerk, and those pay a little bit better than your analyst position does. This was based partly off of how the county does its classifications. Reality is the county does not have a clerk junior analyst. Those are 2 completely different jobs. And when I went to them, they said, what are you, crazy? Those are 2 completely different jobs. We would never combine them together. So what I did is I used the clerk's position as the basis for that salary range when it was originally created. The analyst is more of a traditional analyst that doesn't really do clerking responsibilities. And so that's why that one's a little bit lower in the pay scale.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. I raised it earlier, so when we do salary schedules for our city folks, it's not just people that have labor union contracts. And CalPERS, I know you're in MSERA, but CalPERS is very strict about this. It also includes our town manager. It's everyone. And it has to be right. It can't be estimates of what the range is. It has to be correct, because that's how they figure out pensions. And if they're wrong and we don't do them, as soon as we change anybody's salary, CalPERS comes after us and will go after our retirees. So I'm not familiar with this whole idea of making estimates of what the salary schedule should be out in 3 years. I don't work with MSERA, but I would imagine they might have some pretty rigorous rules as well. And also, not having the executive officer range, to me, it's more equivalent to a town manager who is on our salary schedule and has to be. And when she retires, if she was not on our salary schedule, she would not be getting a pension. So I raised these questions beforehand, and I did copy Mala on it. So I'm really concerned about the way we're doing this salary schedule, and I don't think it's really appropriate, these estimates.
The schedule does have a range, so it allows the executive officer to slot any individual in that range. So obviously, the executive officers by contract, you could, if you wanted to put the specific amount, there's an asterisk with the actual amount, but you could put the amount in as opposed to the asterisk, or you could also have a range. I've seen all of the above. So it's really just a preference.
And we're clear that this is correct with MSERA.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Question.
As long as the actual salaries are in the range.
Okay. And
No, because we are unrepresented employees, we do not have a step system. What I generally do is I try and follow what the county does when I'm doing employees every year. That's why I say that we technically have to call it a merit increase, because we don't have steps because they're unrepresented. So when I do it, I actually follow A few years ago, and I haven't, to be fair, I haven't done the calculations recently, but a few years ago, I did the calculations of several of the positions that were semi-related to within the county system and found that they average, and I apologize, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but there's an average of how much all of those step increases are. And so when I say I'm doing a merit increase, I'm doing the COLA plus whatever that step increase would be if they would have been with the county and a county employee. I kind of follow that same path, and I use that average amount for the employees that we have.
Is that all right if I ask?
There you go.
Yeah, it has to be on. We're recorded.
Can I ask? Okay, so I'm looking at the DEO, the second set for this year.
Yes.
The upper end of the range is 167. And I'm wondering, excuse me, so that you have the privilege of going anywhere in that range and getting it up to that maximum limit? Is that how it goes?
Yes, although keep in mind that what I am doing with that 167 amount, we'll just keep the thing is I actually said, what are we looking at to pay this year? And then I do an increase for the next 3 years out. So I'm not going to pay, Jaron's not going to get 167 this year. And I think he's pretty well aware of that already. That what he's looking at is that would be his potential salary in 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Should he continue to stay with us and get COLA increases, and if there's a step increase in there, that's where he could potentially get to in several years. The goal this year is not for him to be anywhere near that amount. He'll be within that range that's there, but he won't be at the 167 amount. Without having had his review done yet, I don't want to actually have a discussion in open session about what I would look to do with that. Happy to answer that after the meeting's over,
Okay.
though.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, is there any public comment on this item?
No members of the public present.
Bringing it back to the commission, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Okay, would somebody like to second?
A second.
Okay, we had 2 voting, but I heard Vice Chair Rodoni second. Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The matter passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. So this is number 10, discussion and possible action on application fee waiver for Tiburon Fire Sanitary Annexation to Sanitary District Number 2 of Marin County.
So we have yet to actually get this application, but the fire district has asked if they could waive the fee when they do submit later this year. They're getting very close to submitting an application. They currently get service from Richardson Bay. They're redoing the firehouse. They're, from what I understand, completely tearing it down and build a brand new one. And at this point, it's easier for them to connect to Sanitary District 2's pipeline because it's downhill. So they'd prefer to go that way instead of having to go uphill to Richardson Bay where they have to pump it, which makes total sense. When it gets to us, I'll be fully supportive of the application. But the fee waiver is a completely different issue. When applicants come to us, whether they're government or private sector, whoever it is, they pay an application fee. The state paid the application fee for the firing range. When Southern Marin Mill Valley did their big annexation, they paid an application fee to us. We do have a couple of exemptions in our rules for the fee schedule already for anyone who is doing that big boundary fix, like we discussed with Sanitary District 2. The commission approved saying, hey, if you're going to come to us and you're going to help us fix your boundaries, we're not going to charge you LAFCo fees to do that. You'll pay third-party fees, but you don't pay ours. Same thing when we make a recommendation in an MSR. If there's a big recommendation and as a way to try and entice the folks to do our recommendation, if it requires an application, we'll waive the application fee in those 2 cases. But those are the only exemptions we have. This would be adding, in some ways, while not an exemption, it would be adding a very dangerous precedent that anytime someone comes to us with an application fee and says, I would like to get it waived, we're going to do that. So I strongly recommend a no vote on the fee waiver. That is staff's recommendation to you, and I will yield to any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions of staff? Seeing none, any public comment on this item?
There are no members of the public present.
Okay, bringing it back, I'm supportive of staff's recommendation. Would somebody like to make a motion? Or do you want to deliberate? Or would you like to make a motion? Whatever.
Yes,
go
you
ahead.
do.
Yeah, we do. So the staff recommendation is do not approve the fee waiver.
I'll make the motion to not approve the fee waiver for Tiburon Fire Sanitary Annexation.
Okay, did anyone like to second that motion? I'll second it. Everybody looks tired. Okay, so that was Commissioner Chu, second Kohler, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that matter passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Good staff report, good suggestion. Okay, now we're going to do the breezing very quickly through the executive officer report.
All right. So in front of you, as I will always do, I run through these very quickly. If you want to stop me, just raise your hand and I'll stop on the item. Our budget, we continue to come in under budget. We are in good shape for the fiscal year, and that is a good thing. There's a couple of line items that are going to get close to that 100% or might possibly go over, but it's only by a few dollars, and we'll be under budget overall for the entire thing. Current pending proposals, you see what's in the packet in front of you. We are expecting a couple more applications to be coming in shortly, so hopefully we'll get those in this year, which will help with our earlier budget item of being able to reduce our fees to our member agencies. LAFCo work plan, you can see everything that's in there. I do want to note, as kind of part of that work plan, I did this past week attend the Independent Fire Districts Conference. I'm going to apologize, I forget the exact name of the group. Saw several of our chiefs, had some very good conversations with some of them. So probably in the near future, you're going to be seeing some updates to this stuff. And one of the big things that we're going to be updating is we're looking to get the fire study out sooner rather than later, partly because there's a couple of things that some of them have actually asked us if they now need, and instead of doing a new MSR for them, we think we can cover it in the fire study. So we're working those things out and should have something out sooner rather than later. And then on the I've been asked to come to the CSDA conference, the California Special Districts Association. They have a conference every year for special districts. That'll be in August down in Monterey. I'm going to be presenting on what LAFCo is and why special districts are important to them. So I'm working actually with Joe Serrano, who is joining me on that panel, and then we're going to get a special district representative who serves on LAFCO, not from either of our two districts or counties, because we want to kind of spread out the wealth of who's there to talk about why special districts are important. I'm looking to attend the entire conference, so I'm kind of looking from a nod from this group. If anyone has objections to me attending that entire conference, there's a little bit of a cost to it, but we do get a discount because I'm going to be a panelist, so it's a good time for me to go because I've never been to CSDA's conferences. I'm not seeing anyone say no to that, so I'm going to continue on then. You do have correspondence. It's in relation to the very quick audit that we got done. We sent you a letter and sent it out to you to talk to our auditor if they had some questions, if you had any concerns, to talk to them.
I ain't talking to no auditor.
Yeah, well, you should talk to our auditor if you have any concerns. But we also now have our audit, so that process is now all over. The one other thing that I did want to mention is at the end of this month is the Cal LAFCo staff workshop. I'll be going to that. Claire will also be going to that. She will actually be doing another presentation to them about ADA compliance. Last time we did a why you should be doing it. This one's going to be how do you physically do it on your documents. So she's going to be showing them how we've been doing document remediation here. So assuming she gets better and is no longer sick like she is today, she will be doing a great presentation to them, I'm sure. And then after the conference, I go on a 2-week vacation. It's when my birthday is. I like to take some time off around my birthday. So I will be gone. So if you need anything during that window, those first couple of weeks of May, go talk to Jaron. He'll take care of you while I'm gone and doing other things. So that is my executive officer's report. If you have any questions, let me know.
I just want to make a comment. I think it's excellent. The CSDA conference, I think we've heard some good feedback from Commissioner Murray, especially on your participation with special districts. And I do feel that you should stay for the whole thing. I think you will gain something out of that. So appreciate you bringing that to us. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Commissioner Roberto?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's a few weeks early, but thank you.
Yeah, still. I'm not going to see you before.
Yeah,
then,
that is
so.
true.
Okay, so
Special district conference is very interesting because you'll find out there's hundreds of cemetery districts
Yep.
that are in California.
Well,
and
this
they-
county may be getting one I hear
Well,
someday.
they like to tell you people are dying to get in their district. So.
Yes.
okay, Dennis has been waiting for that joke for a while.
He's been holding that one in the back pocket.
And commissioner announcements and requests, anything? I see nothing. Well, thank you all very much, and we are adjourned